today we're going to go into Qualtrics and look at some different things that we can do for reporting results. So what I'm going to use is the survey that y'all completed for me about the course, and we'll be able to go to the results of it and look at some different things and kind of help you figure out what you can do and can't do. So we go to review reports. Let's go there first, okay. And then you can go, I have two, but you should just be able to go to initial report. And that'll bring it up. And one thing you want to do for your initial report is go over to here to show filters. And on completion status, you only want to use people that completed the survey all the way. So it may be set on partial or all, so change it to completed. So it'll only show the surveys that were completed. You can also go over here and look at statistics. And for some reason, mine is not showing up, but it'll tell you how many people completed the survey all the way and how many people did not. And let's see, once we go to view results, go to your initial report, make sure that on the filters you have completed surveys. Then the first question, one of your first questions that you'll have will be age. And because we had them do a text response where they typed in their age, it's not going to give us, look, I'll show you, like, see when they've typed in male and female, it gave us the percentage and figured the mean and all in standard deviation. But since age was a text response, it doesn't do that. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to export this to Excel. Okay, so it exported age for us. So all you're going to do is you're going to take your age and do your sum, and then you're going to take that sum to find your mean or your average is just going to be that sum divided by how many people you had. So we had 6 people. So our mean or average age is 21.67. And then another thing you can do is you can also figure your own frequencies. So we had 2 people that were 22 years old and 2 people that were 21. So you would just say, if you take 2 divided by 6, so 2 out of the 6 people were 22, comes up with 33%. And then we also had 2 that were 21. So that gives us another 33%. And so then our last 2 percentages would be 20%, or it would be the 24 and the 20, which would make up the last percentages. So you could just say divided by 6 would be the 16%. So now we have our percentages and we have our mean. And so then what we can do is we'll go back over here, and then what I did is I just did a text box. So if you go up here, you can say add a note. And so that's what I did here is I added a note and I just said our average age was 21.6 years. And I said 33% of respondents were 22 years of age and 33% were 21 years of age. And the age range was 20 to 24. So that's just all the basic information that you'll need about age that you'll have to figure in Excel. And then next, we just see male and female. We had all females. Okay, next what I did is looking at classification. I made a graph. So what you do to make a graph is you go up here to add graph, and see it did a bar graph for me of junior, sophomore. And another fun thing that you can change on your graph is you can do percentages, which I like that better, I think, a lot of times. So instead it tells you 80% of the people that took the survey were seniors and almost 20% were junior, which it should have been 20%. And So here's just a bar graph. You can always change it to a pie chart. You can play around and see which graph you like better. I personally, for this, I think a bar graph is great, but you can change it to whatever graph. And you'll also, I'm going to send you a video to watch that tells you what all of these do, because sometimes I'll show you in another one where we'll truncate the label. So the main thing that you would report from when you find out their classification is just percentages. There's no way to get like really a mean or anything out of it, because it's just basic information that doesn't really have numbers with it. Okay, next is also looking if they're full-time, part-time, student, part-time employee. Okay, and here's where this just shows that this was not a good question, because if we look at this question, it shows that there was 4 students that were full-time students, and then it only shows that 2 students work part-time. But if we go to the next question, we see that actually 4 students said they worked. So we couldn't use question 4 on the previous page, because they didn't answer the question correctly. They must have been confused, because they are full-time student, but they do work part-time. So I probably should have had one that said full-time student, part-time employee, which I didn't have. So people got confused on, should I write part-time employee or should I write full-time student? So we would actually have to take this question out, and we couldn't use it in our survey. But we can use this question, because this shows that 4 out of the 6 actually work. So same thing, what I did is I took this information and stuck it in Excel, and I figured the average. So for this, I did 21 hours. I think I did 6 hours, 34 hours. Or you know what I did? If it was 6 and 8, I took the average. I took the middle number. So I took 7. And on this one, I think I did 22 or 23. And then so I figured how many average hours they work per week. And then I said 60%. So 4 out of the 8 worked. So that 67% of the class works part-time. And I also said that no one in the class works full-time, because that would be 40 hours. So this is just generalizations or results with numbers that we can add to our results when you write up your paper. Okay, and then I don't think anyone did this crazy long matrix, but if you did have something that had more than one question, let's go to another one. Okay. We could do this one. Let's add a graph to it. Oh, I know what else I was going to tell you about graphs. So this shows you how many times in the semester they had contacted the instructor. Then another thing that you can do, if you want to export this graph, you go to graph options. So then say you think this is a good graph that you want to use in your paper. So you're just going to export it to Microsoft Word, and then you can stick it in your paper, because we've talked about that it's good to have graphs and tables within your paper. And if you wanted to show a percentage table, you could also export this to Microsoft Word for your paper. Okay. I'm going to show you another one where it was a fill in the blank, where you can add in some information. Let me find the one. Okay. This says list 3 things you like about taking a course taught via Blackboard. So what I did is I looked at what everyone said, and I found out of this that 50% of the class likes not having to go to class, and 50% of the class likes being able to do work at their own pace. So you can also take your questions where they were fill in the blank, and if you count up and if it shows that you have people that answered the same thing over and over again, then you can put a percentage to it and say what percentage of them. So in this one I found that half of the class, so there was total responses of 6. So 3 people out of 6 said they like not having to go to class. So that's how I came up with that percentage. So even on your fill in the blank, you can still kind of come up with some numbers that are important and that can be used. Okay. And then I'm going to show you. Okay, this is another one I wanted to show you. Okay, which I think I may have already done this. So see how my questions were really long? So I went ahead and truncated the labels on them so then it would make your graph a little easier to read. But see, if I didn't, see how you can't read it? So if your questions are long like that on one of your graphs for some reason, just go to truncate your label, and then it makes it short where you can read it. And then you can see like on which questions they strongly agreed, which questions they disagreed. So you could see there's a big difference in the answers to these questions versus these questions. So that's something you might want to look at and see, okay, what's going on? Because there's a huge difference when you get to here versus here. And then once again, if we think this would be a really good graph to show lots of differences, we can export it into Microsoft Word. And another thing that we can do, so we can run, I don't think, I'll send you a video that shows you, that has cross tabulation and how to use it. And that's where you look at correlations. So you look at one variable versus another. So an example for this survey is you could look at, because I ask at the end, what grade do you plan to make in the class? And you can compare that to their classification, or I could compare it to their work, how often they work. So we could look at, if you work, does that affect what your GPA will be? Or you could also like ask questions about time management. So you could look and see, oh, is time management, is there a correlation between time management and what students think their GPA, their grade will be in the course? And you can use cross tabulation for this. But I don't think, I tried to use it earlier and it may not work. So you say create a new cross tabulation. So we said we were going to look to see if classification and final grade in the class were correlated. And this is what it keeps doing. It keeps not giving me it. But I'll send you a video that covers cross tabulation, and it will tell you exactly how to do it and how to find the numbers. So last thing I did want to cover is how to download your data. Because I think the best way to do it is you go here to download data. You want to do all questions. You just do answers as values. You just say period, export tags, and then export it to Excel. So you'll click on that, and then it'll let you open it in Excel. And I actually already have one open. So then it's going to give you all your information in rows. And I'm also going to send you another video. So how I just talked about classification, we can do it right now in Excel too. So we'll take classification, and we're going to copy it and paste it right here. Then we're also going to come over here and get, I think what you were going to make, what grade you thought you'd make in the class is the very last question. What final grade? There we go. So then we'll take this one. Okay. And now what we can do is we can take both of these. I think if we highlight everything, then I'll do it correctly. There we go. So it's looking at classification and final grade. So if they were a 4, they were a senior. If they were 3, they were a junior. And then so we can pull data off of that, and then we can do our cross tabulation, which for crosstabs, you actually want to, you can use this little function button. So you're going to just put your cursor down here on a box. Then you'll do function, and then you're going to do correlation and press OK. And then you're going, oh wait, you move this over, and you're going to highlight this as your first row for array 1, and then you'll go to array 2 and do this one, and then you press OK. And it's showing there's a negative correlation since it's a negative number between what your final grade is in classification. And it needs to be close to 1 for it to be a correlation. So there's just a little tiny bit of a correlation. So this is not a significant correlation between the numbers. Anyways, you can figure correlations between different information and see if there's an actual correlation between data. And that's also something, if we go back over here, that the cross tabulation is where you can also do that and look at correlations. So we could pick, like I said before, classification and final grade and see if there is a link between the two. I think that's everything, and I'll send you, I think I have 3 different videos that also talk about using Qualtrics and statistics and using Excel to do correlations that should be helpful to help you figure out how to do it. And if you have any questions, also we'll have another mandatory meeting where we'll specifically talk about this.